Good morning, everybody. It is 9:40 a.m. on Sunday, August 7th, 2022. It's the ninth Sunday after Pentecost, and it is time for the Angelus and the Psalter. Alexa, cancel. Angelus Domini Nunciavit Mariae, et concepit Spiritus Sancto, Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Ecce ancilla Domini, fiat mihi secundum verbum tuum, Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Et verbum caro factum est, et habitabit in nobis. Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus fructus ventris tui, Iesus. Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Amen. Ora pro nobis sancta Dei genitrix, ut digni efficiamur, missionibus Christi, oremus. Gratiam tuum quaesimus Domini mentibus nostris infunde, ut qui angelo nunciante Christi filii tui incarnationem coniovibus, per passionem eis et crucem, ad resurrectionis gloriam perducamur, per iutem Christum Dominum nostrum. Amen. In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Psalms 35 and 36 this morning. Fight those who fight me, O Lord. Attack those who are attacking me. Take up shield and armor and rise up to help me. Draw the sword and bar the way against those who pursue me. Say to my soul, I am your salvation. Let those who seek after my life be shamed and humbled. Let those who plot my ruin fall back and be dismayed. Let them be like chaff before the wind, and let the angel of the Lord drive them away. Let their way be dark and slippery, and let the angel of the Lord pursue them. For they have secretly spread a net for me without a cause. Without a cause they have dug a pit to take me alive. Let ruin come upon them unawares. Let them be caught in the net they hid. Let them fall into the pit they dug. Then I will be joyful in the Lord. I will glory in his victory. My very bones will say, Lord, who is like you? You deliver the poor from those who are too strong for them, the poor and needy from those who rob them. Malicious witnesses rise up against me. They charge me with matters I know nothing about. They pay me evil in exchange for good. My soul is full of despair. But when they were sick, I dressed in sackcloth and humbled myself by fasting. I prayed with my whole heart. as one would pray for a friend or a brother. I behaved like one who mourns for his mother, bowed down and grieving. But when I stumbled, they were glad and gathered together. They gathered against me. Strangers whom I did not know tore me to pieces and would not stop. They put me to the test and mocked me. They gnashed at me with their teeth. O Lord, how long will you look on? Rescue me from the roaring beasts and my life from the young lions. I will give you thanks in the great congregation. I will praise you in the mighty throng. Do not let my treacherous foes rejoice over me, nor let those who hate me without a cause wink at each other. For they do not plan for peace, but invent deceitful schemes against the quiet in the land. They opened their mouths at me and said, Aha, we saw it with our own eyes. You saw it, O Lord. Do not be silent, O Lord. Be not far from me. Awake, arise to my cause, to my defense, my God and my Lord. Give me justice, O Lord, my God, according to your righteousness. Do not let them triumph over me. Do not let them say in their hearts, Aha, just what we want. Do not let them say, We have swallowed him up. Let all who rejoice at my ruin be ashamed and disgraced. Let those who boast against me be clothed with dismay and shame. Let those who favor my cause sing out with joy and be glad. Let them say always, Great is the Lord who desires the prosperity of his servant. And my tongue shall be talking of your righteousness and of your praise all day long. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. Stand by for a moment. There is a voice of rebellion deep in the heart of the wicked. There is no fear of God before his eyes. He flatters himself in his own eyes that his hateful sin will not be found out. The words of his mouth are wicked and deceitful. He has left off acting wisely and doing good. He thinks up wickedness upon his bed and has set himself in no good way. He does not abhor that which is evil. We're not done. Your love, O Lord, reaches to the heavens, and your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness is like the strong mountains, your justice like the great deep. You save both man and beast, O Lord. How priceless is your love, O God. Your people take refuge under the shadow of your wings. They feast upon the abundance of your house. You give them drink from the river of your delights. For with you is the well of life, and in your light we see light. Continue your loving kindness to those who know you, and your favor to those who are true of heart. Let not the foot of the proud come near me, nor the hand of the wicked push me aside. See how they are fallen, those who work wickedness. They are cast down and shall not be able to rise. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. We're going to read from the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 4, 35 through 41. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" I'm not responding at all to what I just sent. I'm actually sending another text message to someone else on the gospel. And they were filled with great anxiety and said to Jesus, "Haven't you ever seen the perfect storm?" right, now it's time for some medication. That is, by the way, I think the lingering thought, I'm willing to wager that's the lingering thought in most people's minds after they hear that gospel story. And it's a good one. Both the gospel story and the question. You know, we seem to read that as, at least at first reading, you kind of read that as Jesus is like, what did you think was going to happen? Oh, I don't know. But I see happen to a lot of other people, maybe. So it's a really interesting, on the other hand, sometimes there is no other hand. Let me explain. I believe that we're all, more or less, okay, going to be together after we die. Meaning that, like, when you lights out, it's not going to be lights out. It's not really, you're going to go to the other side, whatever it is, and you know what I mean? You're going to continue on. There's going to be, you know what I mean? Okay, considering that, anything that happens is going to be like, eventually, like, oh yeah, that was really no big deal. Then, sure. Right? I mean, like, I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Excuse me. You know what I mean? But, like, it is like, whoa. There's a lot that, it can be, just the terror, ooh. Yeah, I think that sums it up. I can't come up with the words for it. That can happen to you, and it can go on for a long time, and it can be awful. And that's what people are afraid of. Or even much simpler stuff, like getting caught cheating on their taxes or something like that. You know what I mean? Some people are probably terrified of that. I mean, like, I don't, there's all kinds of things that people are worried about because those things happen to people. And they can cause great pain or death. And to a human, as God knows, of course, we're terrified of those things. Or at least, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'm not I don't want to die. Like, like most healthy human beings. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, unless you get an illness or something, you're going to die, and then you kind of prepare yourself to die. It's a little different, but right now, I don't have any expectation. I'm about to die, and I don't want to die. So, wow, I was just thinking of Sasha Krause, actually. That's interesting. Anyway, get back to that in a moment, or perhaps later. So I'm gonna, so that means that I have some anxiety about dying. You know what I mean? Even with me, I think about mortality quite a bit, and I have for pretty much all of my adult life. I'm just fascinated with death. Like, it's the biggest thing that can happen to us. You know what I mean? And it's formidable. It's the biggest thing that can happen to us with these corporal, with these mortal bodies, right? I feel like Paul saying that a little bit, but no, it's true. And that'll never be, what's the word I want? Ameliorated, mitigated? Never. Not for human beings, because God apparently doesn't want it that way, which is, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, so he's really telling us there, like, what are you worried about? Well, I wouldn't have been worried if you didn't make me worried about it. That's one thing that, and I often point that out to God all the time. However you make me be is how I'm going to be. I'm going to be, so let's keep that in mind. And a lot of times he's like, I know. I say that to him as if he's going to like, oh shit, you're right, let me change that. A lot of times he'll just call my, force my hand on that and be like, or I try to force his hand, it doesn't work, and he's like, yeah, I know. And then my next question is, well, and of course comes down to me going, look, all I'm trying to do is do whatever I can to feel okay right now. So like, I'm going to say, right, and yeah, try to get you to explain yourself but God is very much okay, not surprisingly, with being on the end of a human situation, or a situation that humans would not want to be on the end of. Like where they're like, yeah, I took the money out of the register. I know it's wrong. Now what? You know what I mean? Humans are not going to usually do that. You know what I mean? They don't want to be in that, because then it's like you're kind of fucked. You're back into a corner. God doesn't really mind that at all. Honestly. But, it is formidable. I got to tell you, that gospel passage right now, I've never. That's a challenging one. Now, I definitely agree. Like, you can apply it to much smaller stuff in life. But what if we take it in the literal context? Who the hell would not be there? I mean, really? Are you gonna think you're gonna have a ship full of people in a storm like that on Xanax or something? Like they're just. Now, I mean, granted, the crew, is going to have to be like keep their head together and stuff like that, and I'm sure that they would, but that doesn't mean they're not fearful. And Jesus is responding to their fear because he knows what's going on inside. Jesus was asleep. Jesus was asleep. It's hard to grasp. Because Jesus was fully human. Now, let's take this literally. Perhaps Jesus, some people, you know what I mean? Some people, I've heard of stories of people in the airplanes where like most of the plane is fucking like on edge because the turbulence is really bad. There's a few people that are just like, reading a magazine, they are totally chill, like, we get this all the time, it's not a big deal. Maybe Jesus kind of didn't, you know what I mean? Wasn't particularly bothered by things like that. Who knows? All right? But for him to say that to other people as if they shouldn't be worried too, especially as wise of a man as he is. Now, let me tell you something right now, as a Christian. Jesus is God, yes. You and I are also God, yes. God knows everything. Okay? Calculus wasn't invented yet, but God already knew it. Did Jesus know calculus? Some people would say yes. I don't think so. No. Because just like you and I are God, and I gotta tell you, I don't know calculus. I wish I did, but maybe someday. I'm not that much of God that knows calculus. So what I'm trying to say is, though, but Jesus was wise enough to know why they would be afraid. Why they would be afraid. I think he's exhorting them to reach for an ideal that I reach for too. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Absolutely. You know what I mean? There's going to be situations where you're afraid, but like you should still kind of shoot for like you know what I mean? Aim for something that is above attainable always, because in aiming to get there, you're still going to get closer. It's not about actually reaching it. It's about how fucking close you can get to it. You know what I'm saying? Because the closer you get, the better, right? To the ideal. To the ideal. Whatever the ideal is. Whatever you're holding up as an ideal. The closer you can get to it, the better. Now, there's a time to not do that. Some people are very discouraged with shit they can't attain. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, honestly, like it means that, like, they just don't see it. Like I just laid it out to you. Like, that's just not the way they work. That's not the way God works in the parts of Him. I don't mind that at all. I don't mind. You know what I mean? Like, to me, I can get no praise on something, and like you know what I mean? It just doesn't. It's not. You know. I mean. When I was a piano student with Wynn Johnson, you know, here's the thing. In a piano lesson, you have an hour of time, okay? A week. And you have a lot of things you're working on. There's a lot to cover and a lot to do, all right? Most of that lesson is not spent kissing your ass and praising you, because that's a waste of time. That time needs to be spent on stuff you would need to improve on. I just take it as a matter of course. Like, of course. Like, duh. Like, I mean, that's what, you know what I mean? Tell me what I'm not doing right, because this is what I'm giving you money for, and that's so I can get better at this. Now, some people, they, like, if they don't get enough praise, like, that just, like, that really, and I'm not, you know, I'm going to be honest with you. Personally, I disdain people like that. I really don't like them. Honestly, I think it's kind of, like, it's ridiculous. But, that's the way God made them. You know, if I saw it that way too, I would see it that way. You know what I mean? Like, so I can't really blame them for that, but I just don't, I'm like, kind of like, you know, so, you know, but I remember, I mean, the most praise I would get from Wynn Johnson on something, he'd be like, oh, that's good. That's about all he would say quickly on something, and we would move on to more like what I'm doing wrong. I wouldn't want it any other way. I already know what I'm doing right anyway. You know, at least enough. And people, is it good to give praise? Absolutely. I praise people a lot, as much as I can. I love to praise people. I really do. It feels wonderful to praise people. However, in that same situation, I mean, you know, I might be a little bit more forthcoming person because I'm like that. But no, mostly that hour is stuff that you need to, you know what I mean? That's what you're working on. That's what teachers are there to, you know what I mean? It's like, I think if you can't, it's almost like resting on your laurels, right? You know what I mean? You're not growing when you're resting on your laurels. All right? So it's like a teacher that has spent time and with you both rehearsing what you're all good at, what you're good at is not getting you anywhere. There needs to be time for it, yes. It does need to happen, yeah. However, I would want you to be the kind of person that if it doesn't happen, you're okay. Because let me tell you something, there are people are assholes, okay? And the truth is of the matter, sometimes you need to give yourself the pats on the fucking back yourself. You need to be able to do that. And if you don't get it, and people want you to interpret that as you don't deserve them, you can tell them where to go get fucked without saying a word to them. Okay? Now, and this is what Jesus is trying to teach you. What I just said right there. But I just said right there, he doesn't directly come out and say it all the time, and he never comes out and says it like I just said it. But if you read it, it's like, oh yeah, this is what this is all aimed for. This is what this is all aimed for. Even the seemingly unrelated gospel passage that we read today, Mark chapter 4, 35 to 41, teaches the same thing. That's what he wants you to do. And how you do that is you look to God. Because everything is grace. Does that make sense? Did I know that I was going back to that after I digressed a little bit? No, I didn't. But I was confidently able to tie it back because we're always talking about the same thing. Okay? The people are afraid. Okay? That's almost like being in a situation of like no help from anyone else. Are you going to be afraid? I guarantee you, I could read that gospel passage from now until the cows come home, and if I run a ship and that were happening, I'm going to be afraid. Because I personally am afraid of waves. You know what I mean? Waves in general. I have a huge fear of waves. And in fact, a lot of my you know what I mean? Like, remember that movie with the mega tsunami in it? Oh my God! Let me tell you something. That scenario was played out in my head so many times in my life. Of like huge waves, I have a fascination. Anything I'm very afraid of, I'm also like probably like a lot of people, very fascinated by. So I watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of tsunami videos on YouTube and stuff like that. I'm just like, oh my God, you know, look at those people run. You know what I mean? Like it's like I just can't think of anything more horrible. That's why I'm never going to Japan. I'll tell you that. But well, I would go to Japan, you know, But I'll tell you, if that happened, Jesus Christ, please. Or at the same time, I don't know. See, that's one of those things. I mean, then that has me wishing for a tsunami. I can't do that. That's not fair. All right. So where's the help come from? You know, Jesus doesn't tell you. Does Jesus ever tell you to go look to your friends and ask for fucking advice and help and shit like that? No, not really. And he's not saying don't do it. I mean, you know what I mean? There's a good amount. But when it comes to he is aiming at what he's aiming at what someone that doesn't believe in God would call self-sufficiency. There's no such thing. But to the extent that there is, Jesus is trying to tell you how to do that. And he's trying to tell you, you know what? This is what you can look to. Understand this core. Understand that's where everything comes from. Where your understanding comes from. And that way, you don't have to listen to people's attitudes when they differ from that and get confused about it. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right. Now let's do medication now. Let's do some more medication. All right. Preaching on a Sunday, finally. Oh my God, you know. Indeed I am. I just preached on the gospel. I preached on that passage this morning. It came out pretty good. And it's been a while since I've been preaching on Sundays for some strange reason. But yeah, I'm actually still mid-video. I'm about to take Metamucil. I'll talk to you later. Bye. So I just took the lisinopril 20 milligrams and vitamin D3, 2,000 units, Metamucil, low dose naltrexone already pre-filled. Saves me a little bit of time in the video. I've been doing that. I've done it twice now, I think. Kind of nice. But don't count on it every time. All right, hold on. Oh, it's settled a little bit. Let me just shake it up. Shake it up. Isn't it? That's not. It's not "Shake It Up," is it? What's that song like by the Talking? Is it Talking Heads? That was they were. I don't like '80s music, but some of the Talking Heads songs like are pretty cool. Like the ones in Revenge of the Nerds, I think, were good. Burning Down the House, kind of was cool. Is it? Maybe it is "Shake It Up." I don't know. I can't remember now. All right, here we go. For some reason, for some reason, I can imagine my former pastor Debbie liking Talking Heads. I don't know why. I could be totally off there, or maybe. Who knows? But for some reason, I could just see. Maybe it's the time period or whatever. All right. All right. Let me go rinse these out. And put this in the fridge. Interestingly enough, I can keep this for a month. And look at that. We just passed, calendar month, anyway. And that's how much is left in there. Like, literally, it was, like, pretty much. But it's interesting because it wasn't, I changed doses along the way. So, I mean, like, really, it was, it wasn't that it just, it just kind of coincidentally worked out that way. Pretty neat. Okay, I'm going to show you the logs. Metamucil. Metamucil. Prayer. Prayer and medication instead of prayer and supplication. All right. Whoop. Has no backbone, this log, I tell you right now. All right. Actually, this got, there's some stand-up heads that have a thicker cardboard back. They're kind of nice. They're also a bit more money. I got these from the dollar store. The paper is actually better too. In fact, you might imagine, right? This paper comes, it's very easy after when the paper gets old and you flip the pages a lot. This paper really, you got to wash up here. But I've had it. I've been doing this now for since October 2020, and so good, so far so good. Honestly, I don't usually flip through them. They're not for that. Although they are for that if I need to. Actually, the logging, I've said this a number of times. Yes, there are many things that, it's great to review, and sometimes I do review periodically, occasionally through different logs, but the most important aspect of the log is the moment you're doing it. You know what I mean? That's really that's really what it's for. It's like, honestly, so if somebody came in here today or if the house burned down or whatever like that, and I lost all the logs, really it wouldn't, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, 2 years of logs. No, you just start again, just boom. Because the most important part is writing it down at that moment. That's like I said. It really is not the it's great to have the history. There's another Jesus lesson right there too. Be in the present. Whatever you saved up is not, you know what I mean? This is you could look at this as wealth. Oh my god, all I worked for. And see, Jesus wouldn't be upset about that, would he? Or maybe he's telling you too, is that maybe you are upset about it. But have you ever done that? Where you're I feel this way, but I know that it's not in line with your ideals. So what does that help you do, usually? It should, at least anyway, right? It should at least direct you. I gotta tell you, I reason away feelings all the time. All the time. In fact, if there's one thing I'm good at, and I'm not good at it overall, because no human is good enough at that, but one thing I really, really, really excel at is if I get a feeling I feel like being a jerk to you, just because that feeling is going to have to explain itself, because I'm not going to be a jerk to you without a damn good reason to be a jerk to you. And I can't, there probably isn't one. Though, there's at least going to have to be a good enough one for at least to allow it to happen. I can't possibly be a jerk to you for no reason. I just will not do that. I will not do it. You know what I mean? I just, even if it's whether somebody would agree with the reasons or not, you know what I mean? It could be the most flimsy reason in the world, let's say, in theory. I'm saying in theory. But there's got to be I just will not act on a feeling like that. And now that's partly bullshit, because remember I said feelings are what drive actions, okay? So what I'm saying though is that, if I was so compelled to be a jerk to you that I did it, almost certainly I'd be I apologizing to the person. I don't know why I did that. I was just having a bad day. You know what I mean? I had no reason to do that. So either it's going to prevent me from doing that, or it's going to have me amending it immediately. You know what I mean? Trying to Another word I can't think of right now. For my actions, basically. I know a lot of people apparently no such process in their life. None at all. Like, no, I just be like that. Fuck it. I don't get, you know what I mean? I don't know. No. I'll just do this to someone. I'm not going to give any thought to like why I might do that. No, that's all right. It doesn't bother me at all, you know. Well, that's debatable. Because I can tell you that none of those people look as nearly as happy as I am in life. I can tell you that. That's debatable. It's a miserable bunch. So, all right, here we go. Here we go to the bathroom. To the bath cave. What do I say, by the way, miserable bunch? Well, you know, I don't know. When you go around starting misery with people for no reason, is that what happy people do? I don't think so. I don't think so. They'll tell you, yeah, you know what I mean? That's the funny thing about being, that's the funny thing about being angry or like upset at something is that like, you kind of like, you know, say weird shit or think weird shit like that. Like, you know, like you can be happy while you're ripping people off. Like, there's no reason I can't be happy and be like, you know, committing credit card fraud. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, because when you're doing that shit, you know what I mean? Like, you want to be a happy person. Everyone wants to think of themselves as happy. And they're going to do it at any cost, you know? Even if it means not even, like, taking into account what happiness really is, right? And so, but you cannot... You know what I mean? You cannot have a higher number when you're subtracting from the number. Like, I mean, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You know? You cannot be happy, truly happy. I mean, you can be... Now, let me tell you this. This is how these people define happiness. Okay, all right? And I can't say I blame them because that's the only option available to them. All right? I have a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention his name. I love him dearly. It makes me smile. But he's got a lot of fucking problems. A lot. And it's not Coulter. But you know what? He probably would be a drop-in replacement for it. You know? Why am I not mentioning? Why does the Lord not want me to mention his name? That's interesting. I won't though. All right. I mean, we will later. I don't know. I have no idea. But all right. People that have, well, that, you know, we often think of as like, you know, kind of borderline. I mean, literally. I'm not using that as like a label like fascist or like, you know, Nazi or something like that. I mean, like literally like a borderline patient. Okay. Well, one of the defining characteristics of that disorder is to polarize things against people. You know what I mean? For example, like, you know, when you're with somebody, like your friend, okay, and like things are going well, you're the greatest person in the world, I really appreciate you, but the moment they can't see you in that light because you know what I mean? You depart from like what they want you to do or how they want you to act in that situation, you're fucking worthless, you're a piece of shit, I never should have talked to you, waste my time, like da-da-da-da, like that. Okay? People that are like that often think they're happy. You know, I mean, at least I don't know if they think, you know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows whether they're just telling or whether they believe it to some degree? It doesn't really make a difference.
they will often defend that they're just fine. You know what I mean? It's not their problem. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with them. It's you, of course, right? And the way they do that is because they have pockets of time. You know, it's almost like being high, okay? Which is not the same thing as being happy. All right, as those of us that do drugs that have had bad trips on drugs, we know that, you know. But I'm talking about, for example, if you have euphoria is not happiness. Okay? Because you hit the lottery and I'm talking like small lottery in this case, like because you won like $500 on a scratcher, okay? And someone gave you a car that day at the same time, and you're just having a nice day and it's nice outside, I'm happy. That's how they do that. It's not, no, because it's short-lived. I mean, it's you know what I mean? You're gonna come down from that high. The euphoria is going to die. And how do you feel then? Euphoria is not happiness. However, it's the only option available to some people. And that really does suck. But, I'm sorry, people, and many of you friends of mine, you are not going to sling your shit over here. Take it back. You know what I mean? That's the only reason I am ever defensive about that sort of thing, is because if you're throwing your shit on my lawn, you're gonna take it. It's not staying here, honey. You're gonna own your own shit. You know? The same thing with my landlord, honestly. If you want to know the truth, I have nothing personal against him, but like, you're not gonna do this and not take, you know what I mean? Certain things and not take, and not, you know, you're gonna own all of it. That's what it's about for me, you know? Or at least, at the very least, not bringing it here. You know? It is, you know, it's not my responsibility, and it's not going to be. And ditto, you know, for anyone else that's kind of imposing on people. You know, when you probably should, I think, look at wronging people or maligning people as imposing on them. I mean, it really, even if it's not like a physical imposition, it is always an imposition, because it's something that other person shouldn't be dealing with if you were acting not like an asshole. Imposing. So you may visualize imposing as, you know, somebody dumping shit on fucking you. You know what I mean? Like, weight on you that you gotta carry. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Here you go. You can have it back, honey. And I'm very, very surgical about that. I'm very, very surgical about it, and I won't do. I'm not gonna carry. That's not the kind of weight that Jesus is talking about. You know, bearing each other's burdens. That's not what he meant. I do bear other people's burdens, but it's in a way that's in a healthy way. You know what I mean? And honestly, let's face it, we have to take into account the fact that we are all, you know what I mean? As much as I may have to, it doesn't mean that I don't deal with bullshit. We all deal with bullshit, and there's, you know, and none of us also deal with, you know what I mean? Don't you love how we say that about ourselves a lot of times? Like, I don't take any shit. We take a lot of shit. You know what I mean? Like, all of us take a lot of shit. I mean, you know, I think what we obviously mean by that is that, like, well, number one, it's bullshit when we say we don't take any shit, because you know what I mean? We would try to act like, oh, man, do something. No, there's a lot that we can't do stuff about. You know what I mean? That like we just don't want to, you know. But we're more practically, where it's true is that we talk about, like, you know, we take action against it. You know what I mean? That sort of thing, or set boundaries, or, you know, which is an action against it, sort of thing. But that said, I mean, you know, a lot still comes through. And that's part of being human. It really, you know, I found myself, honestly, I found myself a lot happier of a person by that realization than the I'm not taking any shit attitude. Really. You know, I mean, they're both still there, you know, but it's a lot more real, you know, it's a lot more realistic. And there it is. All right, let's brush. It's funny. I was thinking horrible bosses. It's exactly right. When he talks about this exact thing. It says about. I don't remember the speech exactly, but it was Jason Sudeikis. I think talking about his parents moving to this country or whatever, and they put up with a lot of shit or whatever, and that humans basically have to put up with a lot of shit. To not put up with a lot of shit later. That's also one way to look at it. But really, life is put up with a lot of shit. It's two different ways to look at it. You can look at it as I don't put up with any shit, even though everything will be the same. And then you can take the other side of that and go, okay, all things being equal, yeah, there still is a lot of shit you put up with, Like I just said, there's a time and a place for both. All right, that's good. And what we got here is a 1058. That sounded like a 1058. Got a 1019 the station in 1058. No, I don't think there is a 1058 though. At least it could be. I've never heard it. Radio, crawl. All right, 58 AM. I'm not very familiar with them though, so I'm not the guy to ask. $10.19 is in a route, by the way. thinking about my preaching this morning. Not surprisingly, all right. And what I was thinking was this. In terms of uplifting, but in terms of making sense of a gospel passage that, kind of like bringing it down to earth so that it's helpful for people, A+, I think. Because really, that's a passage that's kind of inaccessible to most people. It really is. You know what I mean? If you're going to church looking for help and you hear that, people are going to be like, everyone just said, oh, that's nice. Like, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that people that had not, people that have been going to church a long time, like, totally. It's enough, like, they see Jesus at work in their life, you know what I mean? Like, where that's enough to kind of go, like, yeah, Jesus stills the storm, But I think we can go deeper than that, And there's more to say, you know what I mean? It's not one of those, but it's definitely not one of those sermons where it's like, getting out of church and you're like, I feel great to be alive. You're like, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, for them. But for me, I feel like, that made me feel great to be alive right there, because the most important point there was kind of bringing that passage down to planet Earth. The message of the sermon, now itself, was basically that, when it comes to human worries like death and a storm, hey, some people can do it, some people cannot. So that's not the most uplifting sermon, but it is the most realistic, and that, I think, makes it very uplifting. You know what I mean? What good is a sermon that really you can't apply in your life? I want a clergyman that acknowledges the way I feel. Not one that says, Jesus stills the storm. What were you afraid of? Come back next week there. You know what I mean? Like, no. There's a lot, that could be the ending message, but I want you to acknowledge the reality in there of a lot of people that have a lot to be afraid of. And Jesus does, but first of all, okay, we're taking a lot of material here, 3 years of ministry, and condensing it into very short, you know what I mean? It's like, so it almost makes, you know what I mean? Jesus had a lot, I'm sure, to say about, and he does in other parts of the Bible, in other parts of the Gospels. But, first of all, it isn't always the most, you know what? Let's put it this way. Back then, if you could read, you were probably a pretty cerebral person. You know what I mean? If you had that education, if you got to that level. Today, all kinds of people read. Everyone reads. You know what I mean? Some of the dumbest people read. Like, really, you know what I mean? I'm just being real, It's true. Let's face it. You know what I mean? All that fake news and conspiracy, that, you know what I mean? That people that buy into, I'm sorry, if you're one of those people, I don't mean to insult you, but you probably heard, and I'm not going to lie to you, that's kind of, it's unwise, all right, to do that. So, but back then, the most learned people in the world were the ones that read and wrote. So, really, it's kind of it's not surprising in a way that the Bible is written in a way that is kind of for intelligent reading. You know what I mean? Not all of it. It's not entirely like that, but even the most simple of the Bible is kind of, you know what I mean? It's more than reading a news story in the newspaper. Doesn't mean you shouldn't attempt it. Honestly, everybody is intimidated a little bit by the Bible. You know what I mean? Because you've heard people talk about the Bible. You've heard me just say what I said about it. You know what I mean? And it's true. It's like when you get there, you're like, oh shit. There's a ton of stuff. I am by no means an expert at all, not even close. And I'll tell you right now, your average clergyman in there is not an expert either. You know what I mean? Because they are spending most time, if they're a good pastor, in parish ministry, and they're not spending time research, you know what I mean? Doing like research on the New Testament and teaching it. Because those are the people that are really the fucking experts on the text. You know what I mean? It's like, that is, to being an expert on the Bible is, even though people look, yeah, I need an expert on the Bible, who do I go to? Yeah, understand, that makes sense, because like, you know what I mean? More than other people, they're gonna know, you know, but their specialty is not the Bible, it's the application of the Bible, really. Wouldn't you think, like, you need to be an expert? Not really, believe it or not, you don't. You need to, I mean, if you are teaching the Christian faith, you need to know something about Christianity, certainly. And of course, depending on where you go, they decide what is the core and what you need to know, okay? Like, you know what I mean? It's like seminary or like or non-denominational, you know, it's just a seminary period. It's like there's, you know, just like there are accreditations for, you know, high schools, like what you need to have to graduate. Seminaries have the same thing. So, like, but... And you should, even outside of that, you know, you should know. But you know, honestly, you could preach Jesus's gospel and not know a damn thing about the Bible. It is absolutely not even possible. It happens all the time. All the time. You don't need to know a thing about the 12 apostles, raising Lazarus from the dead and all this kind of stuff, and where this and to get what he is talking about and know it. And that is really the most important function of a pastor in parish ministry. You got a flock, and they're there to take care of it. One of the reasons that caused Martin Luther King a lot of problems during the civil rights movement is his absence from this church. A lot of people had a huge problem with it. It is a big problem. You know what I mean? When you're away a lot. You're supposed to be here with us. You know? And people really, you know, it depends, but generally, like, people want the pastor there. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really big deal. I gotta tell you right now, honestly, and I'm a pretty independent guy, when I went back to church at what was then St. Elizabeth's, when Debbie wouldn't show up for church functions that I went to, I was like, I totally understood why she didn't. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Because, like, really, I get it. She explained it, and I get it, and I agree. However, it doesn't change the feeling that people still want you there. You know what I mean? It's just a thing. I don't know what it is. You know what I mean? People love the pastor. They want the pastors to be, you know, and it's just the way churches, you know, and I think she knows that too, but everything. But it is weird how that, I mean, I would have thought that, you know what I mean? It's weird that I had that feeling. Even I had that feeling. It's really strange. It just is something about it. You know, it is really strange, you know, it just, and it's a role that I think that, whether you like it or not, it's like being a celebrity in a way. It really is. It is, it's like a little celebrity in a way. And, you know, I mean, nobody, like, pastors will know that, but a lot of them won't want to admit it publicly because it doesn't sound good, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a celebrity, you know, but like, it is like that because people look up, you know, people look up to you. They like, you know, you're there for a reason, and kind of like being a celebrity. You know, you may want to be able to go out to Walgreens to grab something in peace and not be recognized as, you know. If I name a celebrity, I'm gonna date myself because I don't pay attention to who's popular right now. But you know, pick a, you know, celebrity. There you go. But that's just gonna be, you know, probably be a hassle, really, or at least. not going to go unnoticed. And you may not be in the mood for that. You know, I think honestly, now see, my attitude isn't the only one. And I'm lucky to have this attitude. But my attitude is if I were like Justin Bieber, if you're gonna go out, you're gonna just have to, I wouldn't refuse people autographs for the most part unless it was a really or something like that. Because you mean something to people, and like I think that you have the responsibility to sort of like to do the best you can, to do, you're a little light in someone's world in a way, and that's a privilege, and yeah, we're human, we all have, but you should really make the best effort to be nice. I think to when you're a celebrity, to be nice to fans, or in the case of someone even that's like a politician or or anyone that's a public figure, to be graceful about that, to try. I know. I'm not saying I would never have days like where like imagine it's tough every single day, for your life. It's like you're not going to be on all the time, but do your best. I think it's something we should give thought to, honestly. So anyway, back to the priest thing. I mean, I think it's something that people want to become priests for different reasons, and that's fine. People are called to be priests for different reasons, clergy for different reasons, slightly different reasons anyway. Believe it or not, you might think that people, they all kind of have it. No, but I mean, there's different aspects, there really is different. And then some people want to be clergy because they want to be in the hierarchy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the whole thing. I mean, they don't want to parish, or they don't want to do that. They want to literally be, you know what I mean? Be in the people that are, directing shit from inside. Like, yeah. I mean, like that careerism, like in that kind of way. That's not good. But, it's necessary, by the way. I don't want to just, there's a place for it. It's important, I'm not trying to invalidate it. Mouthwash. Sorry. But, it's administrative a lot of time, and it's like, who wants to become a priest to be, I imagine that's something that like you fell into and then you found you liked it, you know what I mean? But like, hopefully, that wasn't appealing beforehand. Spliss floss, I was, no, no. But, Spliss floss, I was stringing some floss all upon a Sunday morning. Imagine if dentists put floss on their Christmas tree, kind of like garland. Multicolored floss like garland. That'd be kind of funny. I love dentists. I really do. Good ones. I don't think anybody has any doubt now, if they've seen my videos, that oral hygiene is important to me. But I think never would they have believed it, knowing that I had given that the blocks of time that I have not brushed my teeth, or periods, you know what I mean? Like if you didn't see this stuff, you would not. I don't think you would believe that oral hygiene was that important to me. You know what I mean? If without the extra evidence. And I'm glad I share, because I think that's going to help other people too. You would think, you know what? If oral hygiene is important to you, you make sure to brush your teeth every day and you don't miss. Like, that's not necessarily true. And I think that, like, yeah. The videos make this really, really obvious, and like just all the evidence that is on video, you know? Seems like a simple thing, like brush your teeth every day, right? Well, it is when it is a simple thing. I can say that. You would think in a 24-hour period that, you know, I could manage it every day, and luckily I've been having luck again. Good, you know. But like I'm speaking about what has happened in the past, and we know exactly how much time when I brush and when I haven't, because it's written down, and it's on video. More recently. Like, I don't think a lot of people would believe that I literally do floss every time I brush, you know? Oh, he's a drug addict? Oh, really? I'm sure you do, yeah. Like, no, I do. And, like, yeah, you can see it, you know what I mean? There's something to be said for that. Not this. I'm talking about what it's set, like, you know, what you can learn from that. I love this floss. This is good floss. I don't like the dental tape floss. That's really smooth. I feel like it's got no, like, the nice thing about the threaded floss is it kind of, like, it's got texture to it, so it can kind of pull stuff out, you know what I mean? Like that tape floss that's like shiny, it's almost like putting like you know, like a cigarette, when you pull the thread off a cigarette pack. Like, imagine flossing with that. It's like completely smooth on both sides. Like, you know, I don't know. I asked my dentist, he said, you know, it's either, you know, it's not, we don't recommend, we don't have a preference for one, I think is what they said, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I think that's the impression I got. is that there's no either one you want, even if they do have a preference, that either one you want to use is good enough. But I'm sure that they said on that at least that either one is okay. But I just can't buy it on that. I mean, I can buy that it's maybe okay, but it's not good enough for me. You know, now a problem with me is I tend to be a little bit heavy-handed when it comes to oral hygiene. Like I mean, honestly, if you could buy floss with spike strips on it, I would probably do it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want that. There are people that have brushed grooves into their teeth from brushing hard. Okay? Like, I probably, I don't know if I've done that, but I would probably, I tend to be like, we gotta get in there and get that, but that is really not, like, ideally, like, that's not really what you want to do, believe it or not. But I can't help but have that tendency a little bit. But I know that, and at least I think to some degree it helps me respond to it, But I have that, you know what I mean? If you could go in there with a sandblaster and shit, I would probably, I'm like, let's get in there and get it all out, But like, but the gingiva are, really gentle. Your gums are gentle. You know what I mean? They damage easily. And teeth, the fact that you can brush grooves into your teeth with a toothbrush, Now it's amazing because at the same time, our teeth the biting force that our teeth can, I don't want to say emit, what's the word, you know what I mean? How hard your teeth can bite, the force is amazing. I wish I had numbers. I keep meaning to look it up sometime. But I'm told, and I believe by dentists, that when you get dentures, you have a fraction of that biting force, It's the hardest there's no other material in the body that hard. And it's actually kind of amazing that, think about it. To be graphic, you can put some sperm in a woman, okay? And then, it can, so you got sperm, and then you have, a blob of, and then, eventually, this came from, you know what I mean? That's pretty amazing, when you think about it. Wow. That is something else. Even bones even though. But bones are, I don't think, don't take my word on this. This is a guess. I don't believe that your bones are as strong as your teeth. Maybe structurally, but I'm talking about the material. You know what I mean? I think that teeth, the teeth are made of you know what I mean? Of a material that can resist, fracture better. I think. And I think the reason for that is because they're smaller, and they're also under more, probably for most people are also, think about it. Your bones in your body, even if unless you're a professional football player, even then, because you eat more than you play football, probably, are not subject to the same forces. You know what I mean? That's a lot. You know, think about it. Like it's almost like for the reduced amount of size that they are. You know, eating cracking pistachio shells in your mouth. You know what I mean? Like that's like an assault. That's like getting tackled over and over again. You know what I mean? And beaten down like you know, for constantly for however long you eat those. And then that's not even done. Then you're going to eat more stuff later, you know. So I don't think our bones are probably, believe it or not, they probably don't need the same kind, they don't probably need it. They probably don't require it. In fact, it's amazing how I don't know, bones are, you know, not, I don't know. I think God should have made us out of steel, basically. You know what I mean? That way you wouldn't even need a hip replacement. You know? Think about that. That's kind of weird. I often wonder why God did, you know. Why couldn't God give us bones that like are gonna, you know, last a lifetime? I mean, like, wouldn't that be great? You know? I remember not that long ago, I had an X-ray on my, I think it was on my, I could be wrong about this. I mean, but I know this happened to me about some body part. I think it was my hip. It might have been the knee. And I am not an athlete. I've done some, you know, you know, I'm not sedentary. I was not a sedentary kid. But you know what I mean? Like, so I've done a little bit of exercise and, you know, anyway, looked at my X-ray and said that, yeah, you're probably going to need a replacement, you know, a little bit later in life. I'm like, what? And I looked around. A lot of people do. A lot of people are getting hip and knee replacements. Like, it seems like, you know, kind of like the lifetime, you know, the manufacturer's warranty there is not covered. Is not, you know, I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's bizarre. I could see if I were, you know, Carl Lewis or something like that. I mean, like, you know, but, wow, that's amazing. All right, everybody. You can see that I smoke cigarettes. You know, not so bad, though, in this light, which is kind of good. It's like, remember to brush your teeth, to floss especially, and to say your prayers most especially. And I'll see you in the next video in a half an hour. I love you all, and peace.